battle lines are drawn and Taiwan's voters face a difficult choice. Stick with the Democratic Progressive Party, or DPP, and its new presidential candidate, Frank Hsieh, who refuses to compromise on Taiwanese identity when dealing with China, or vote for the opposition, Kuomintang, or KMT, led by Ma Ying-jeou, and pursue closer ties with China in an effort to stimulate Taiwan's economy. Chan Tao-cho travelled to Taiwan to gauge the mood.
歌仔戏其实呢，关系着台湾呢非常的密切。
Taiwanese opera is unique to our identity. It has accompanied us through our stormy past. The language, style, and plots give it a grassroots connection.
The fight for this connection is as dramatic as anything on stage, and the lead players, Taiwan's two presidential candidates, couldn't have more contrasting personalities. Frank Hsieh of the pro-independence Democratic Progressive Party, or DPP, which emphasizes the importance of a unique Taiwanese identity. From opposition party Kuomintang, or KMT, Ma Ying-jeou has a more conciliatory attitude towards China. He prefers greater socio-economic cooperation with the mainland to improve Taiwan's economy, sluggish after 2 terms of DPP rule. His opponent claims his proposals will pave the way for eventual reunification with China.
I have proposed nothing that will compromise Taiwan's identity. My policy is to expand Taiwan's economic contact to the rest of the world, not limited to mainland China.
During the changing phases of China in the last century, the KMT ruled after the Qing dynasty collapsed. It then lost a civil war to the communists in 1949 and retreated to Taiwan. The KMT put the island under nearly 4 decades of martial law, rife with corruption allegations. But it also kicked in democratic reforms from the 1980s. The DPP's Chen Shui-bian became the first non-KMT president in 2000. His pro-independence rhetoric often strained ties with Beijing. Dr. Lin Zhongbin is the president of the Foundation on International Cross-Strait Studies. He has conducted numerous surveys since the 1990s on how Taiwanese see their nationality.
People in Taiwan increasingly feel they are not Chinese because China is ruled by a regime which strangulates Taiwan internationally. Therefore, people in Taiwan feel ashamed to be identified as Chinese.
Regardless of the island's controversial political status, democratic reforms have fostered a unique Taiwanese identity among many.
Taiwan
is our country. We're not even called the Republic of China. We need the whole world to know that.
Xu Linyi is among 228 young Taiwanese who walked 500 kilometers over 3 weeks from southern Taiwan to Taipei City. They arrived on February 28th, the anniversary of an anti-government uprising in 1947. Every year, Taiwanese remember the weeks that followed when the KMT government massacred many civilians in a violent suppression. Current party members have long since apologized on behalf of their predecessors. But it hasn't stopped the DPP from using this year's occasion to drum up support for Frank Hsieh. The party often engages in such high-profile, emotionally charged events to connect with the masses. They overshadow Ma Ying-jeou's quieter and some say more sincere campaign trail. Constantly leading in approval ratings, his focus on the economy in particular appeals to many Taiwanese.
It's not good for us to, forget about how bad our economy is right now. The efforts would be focused on economic development, but not for ideology. We just don't want to spend too much time and energy and efforts to resolve an unresolvable issue in the next few years.
That's music to the ears of people like Wang Yuanteng, manager of a property firm in Taipei.
It's important that the economy improves and everyone has a job. For young people like me, we're more concerned about who can help people make money. I see myself as Taiwanese, as well as Chinese, or a citizen of the Republic of China. There's no need to draw such a clear line.
The DPP wants to attract middle ground voters like him as well, but believes it's important to draw the line. After all, Beijing sees Taiwan as a renegade state and has threatened to attack if it formalizes its de facto independence.
We favor enhancing Taiwan's defense capabilities in dealing with the Chinese threat and the reality that there are over 1,000 missiles aimed at Taiwan.
Regardless how the story goes on polling day, the next president faces the same challenge in the following scene. How to improve the economy through closer ties with China without compromising the growing Taiwanese identity or domestic interests.
I think Taiwan should play a role of the catalyst, small in amount, huge in effect. If Taiwan engages China, Taiwan's democracy, freedom will gradually spread. And after a while, in China, we'll go through a qualitative change.
And that scenario for Taiwanese could be the best hope for the future of cross-strait ties.
Well, joining me from Taipei to discuss the forthcoming election are the DPP's Director of International Affairs, Bi-Khim Hsiao, and from Taiwan's National Cheng Chi University, Dr. Francis Kan, a KMT-leaning academic. Thank you both very much for being with us. The closing words of that report were by an analyst that seemed to imply that there's a kind of trickle-down effect of democracy from Taiwan spreading across to the mainland, and that will do. That is how change will come about. But can Taiwan's people wait that long? Bi-Khim, I guess that the DPP would say yes. Why?
Well, over the past 20 years, my party has played a very important role in promoting democracy and freedom within Taiwan. We also believe that in order to have peaceful relations with China in the long term, that it's important that the Chinese people also share the same freedoms that we have here in Taiwan. A lot of international politics theorists have the belief that democracies don't fight each other. And we believe that the democratization of China would give the Chinese people greater room for respect of the wishes of the people here in Taiwan.
Francis Kan, I guess the KMT would argue that the DPP is not being patient enough, that its policies seem to aggravate relations between the mainland and Taiwan. But again, shouldn't Taiwan people be able to express their identity and difference from the mainland?
No, I fully agree with what Ms. Hsiao has said. I think according to the theory of democratic peace, there is no liberal democracy fighting each other. But what I think the KMT is doing differently from the DPP is that I think we have to be patient. There is a long way before, China can actually achieve democracy, a full democracy. I think Taiwan can play a greater role in engaging China.
Dr. Kan, the DPP, as I'm sure Bi-Khim will attest, are taking issue, though, with the speed at which the KMT wants to engage relations with China. There's a suggestion, I think, Bi-Khim, that the criticism of Ma Ying-jeou's idea of what is being called a kind of common market with the mainland.
Taiwan and China, we have a very complicated relationship in which there is very close economic interaction, but at the same time, there is tremendous political hostility as well as the military threat coming from China with the positioning of over 1,000 missiles aimed at Taiwan. In Taiwan, many people are fearful of opening our borders to Chinese workers. Many people are fearful of the safety of Chinese agricultural and other food products products. And so there's a belief that restrictions need to be in place, and it's taking it a step too far to propose the idea of a common market. After all, in the European experience, people join the EU, people join the common market out of their own free will. They are not forced into it by military threat.
Dr. Francis Khan, do you agree? Do you think the KMT is adopting this policy because they're being forced into it because of the missiles being pointed from the mainland into Taiwan too much too fast?
What actually we try to argue is that by achieving common market, by actually going through the long process, what actually can be assured is, number one, peace. I mean, in terms of a European case, you can't imagine, I mean, 50 years ago, that Europe could be such a peaceful continent. And Europe is now the most peaceful continent in the world.
All right, we'll have to pause there for a short break. But when we return, we'll hear from one farmer who will tell us why the question of Taiwanese identity will be so crucial in the forthcoming election.